Good morning. Today is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. This is the general session of the Colorado Energy and Carbon Management Commission. Welcome, and we will start the meeting with a roll call of commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Ackerman,
Here.
Commissioner Cross,
Present.
Commissioner Mesner,
Here.
Commissioner Oath.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 4 commissioners present.
Thank you. Obviously, Chairman Robbins is not with us today. He's representing Colorado at the IOGCC meeting in Oklahoma. So we will continue with the agenda with commissioner comments. Go ahead, Commissioner Cross.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to let everyone know that I did read the article in The Guardian yesterday concerning some of the reporting issues with respect to our chemical disclosure statute that was passed a couple years ago. For everyone's reference, that's HB 22-1348. And I was involved in the original implementation of that, working with staff to help set up the forms, talking to operators, talking to environmental groups, talking to legislators, so we could make sure that we got that implemented. But again, I did read that article in The Guardian yesterday, and just wanted to quickly say that we are aware of the article. We are putting together a working group, and we have already been talking to several operators about compliance issues with that and making sure that we move forward and continue the implementation now that the website is up and running.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross. Other commissioners with comments? Seeing none, there was nobody that signed up for public comment today. So next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda, which includes 3 hearing officer recommendations under rules 505 and 508. Does any commissioner have questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I'd move for approval of the consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda passes. Next up on the agenda is an update on approved operations in the ozone non-attainment area for the 2025 ozone season, presented by Sabrina Trask, ECMC Cumulative Impacts and Energy Transition Manager. Welcome, Ms. Trask.
Thank you, Commissioner Messner. Good morning, commissioners. I'm happy to be back with you. About a month ago, I presented a short presentation on our new Form 2D that was created and adopted in last year's Cumulative Impacts and Enhanced Systems and Practices rulemaking. There was one operator who was not in compliance with their NOx intensity, and you had asked me to come back and give an update on that. So I have that today. Next slide, please. And one more slide, please. So just to recap from my April 8th presentation, there were 10 operators in the ozone non-attainment area who were seeking to conduct pre-production operations in this 2025 ozone season. The ozone season started on May 1st and runs through the end of September of 2025. All 10 of those operators who were seeking to conduct pre-production were in compliance with their NOx intensity targets based on the interim NOx intensity report that they submitted to APCD or AQCC last November. There were another 6 operators who submitted their Form 2Ds to us who are subject to NOx intensity, who are not seeking to conduct pre-production operations, but who are seeking to continue their regular production operations. 15 of the 16 operators total were below their NOx intensity targets or within their NOx intensity targets. So there was one operator who exceeded their NOx intensity target. Staff was determined to connect with that operator. They are a small operator. We connected with them and with APCD to try to understand the root cause of their exceedance. Our Rule 316D also requires that the director may, not shall, but may apply additional actions for that operator to further reduce their NOx emissions. So the next couple of slides are sort of the case study on our follow-up with that operator as we determined whether or not to approve their Form 2D and their ongoing production operations this summer. Next slide, please. So just as a quick reminder, I know NOx intensity is a little bit confusing to me anyway, and so I've tried to simplify it here. The way AQCC's Regulation 7 requires operators to calculate their NOx intensity target, or rather their NOx intensity, is by a calculation of their NOx emissions in tons divided by their production. That is a grossly simplified calculation. That is not the actual regulation. I've got the regulation full calculation there at the bottom. But this is an easy way to see that there are three formulaic ways that operators can lower their resulting NOx intensity. They can decrease their NOx emissions, they can increase their production, or they can do a combination of both. So this is something I'm going to circle back to in another slide. Next slide, please. So we met with this operator a few weeks ago, and we talked to them about why their NOx intensity, why they exceeded their intensity last summer. They did drill and complete one well last summer in the ozone season. So I think they started drilling in July and then they did completions in September. So right at the end of the ozone season. Their interim report that they submitted to APCD indicated that their pre-production emissions, so this is construction of the pad, drilling of the well, and completion of the well, and flowback of the well. Their pre-production NOx emissions were 9.4 tons. 9.32 of those tons specifically were registered as from their Tier 4 diesel or dual fuel engines that they used in completions. This volume of NOx emissions is within normal expectations for this sort of operation with that sort of equipment. Their production emissions were 0.048 tons of NOx for production, and their total production volume, KBOE, was 186. So this led us to determine that the root cause of their NOx intensity target exceedance was very much impacted by the completion of that one well last summer. Almost all of their pre-production NOx came from the engines used for completing that well. Next slide, please. So for 2025, this operator is not planning any pre-production operations. They're planning only to continue their ongoing production. This will result in a significant reduction in their NOx emissions compared to last summer. Excuse me. The new well that they've brought into production in late last year will also increase their overall production volumes for 2025. So thinking back to that calculation on the previous slide, they'll be showing a decreased NOx emission this year and increased production. That's the combination, sort of the win-win, and how this operator will be able to lower their NOx intensity. We are fully confident that this operator will be able to meet their NOx intensity target for 2025. They were very cooperative and collaborative in working with us to understand this scenario. So we intend to approve their Form 2D. We will, however, approve it with a condition of approval per Rule 316D1A little I, in which the operator will not be allowed to conduct pre-production operations between May 1st and September 30th this summer. They're not planning to do that anyway, and they've agreed not to. We're just sort of formalizing that agreement in a COA on their Form 2D. I think that is the last slide that I have for this topic. Do you commissioners have any questions for me?
Commissioners, do you have questions for Ms. Trask? Commissioner Oath?
Thanks. And thanks, Ms. Trask, very much for coming back to provide this update. Appreciate it very much. Just kind of reiterating some of what you presented the last time. It's my recollection that, not only were 15 of the 16 operators in compliance, but significantly overly compliant, well past that 20% threshold. So overall, really pleased about this update this year. And then want to thank you again for the diligence and following up with this particular operator and this assessment. It seems like from the numbers you presented, if we were seeing that the pathway to compliance was just an increase in production, I think that would cause a lot of concern. But looking at the numbers that you presented, I appreciate that in large part, it seemed like the amount of emissions in 2024 was related to the pre-production operations. And given this plan to not conduct that and the COA to ensure that that is the case this year, that gives me a lot of comfort. So appreciate that outcome and assessment. And then just, I guess, I'll try to frame this as a question, but the approval of this Form D is around forward-looking actions, and that is what is within our rules and ECMC's jurisdiction. That there is a separate question that remains about what is appropriate in light of last year's non-compliance with the NOx intensity target. That is something that is left to our sister agency over at CDPHE to evaluate and determine what is the appropriate step there. It does not bear at all on our decision here to approve the Form 2D and actions going forward.
Yeah, Commissioner Oath, thank you for that. You are absolutely correct. APCD is aware that this operator did not comply according to the interim report. My understanding is that they will wait, and that APCD will wait until the 2024 on-gear report comes out, the annual report, which that's a report that operators have to submit to APCD every year. I think the deadline is in June, so June of this year. So next month, operators will be submitting their on-gear annual emissions inventory report. APCD staff or AQCC will then review that final full report that is a little bit more complete indicator of an operator's NOx intensity status. If an operator is not in compliance based on their annual report next month, then our sister agency may seek to conduct enforcement with that operator. So I defer to them on what they're going to do with this operator. We don't regulate emissions, but we do regulate operations. And so this is our way of sort of tag teaming with our partners at APCD and AQCC to ensure that overall in the ozone non-attainment area, operators are tracking their emissions and being held accountable to meet the standards set by AQCC regulations.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions on this topic?
I don't see any further questions, so I'll let you go into the next presentation, which is the director announcement of publication of the cumulative impacts report.
Great, thank you so much. Next slide, please. So I am absolutely delighted today to announce publicly that ECMC's Cumulative Impacts Annual Report on Emissions has been published. We actually published it last Thursday. It is available on our website. There's a screenshot here to sort of help navigate where on our website. For those of you watching, if you click on the library tab on our homepage and then the cumulative impacts tab, and then down below, you'll see the listing of the 2021, 22, 23, and now the 2024 cumulative impacts report. We've got links both to the full report in English, and we have a link there on our website and on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side of this slide, to the executive summary that has been translated into Spanish. So hopefully everyone's able to find that report. Next slide, please. So what is this report? This is our fourth report. This report was adopted in the 2020 mission change rulemaking in Rule 904A. It is meant to serve as one of the commission's mechanisms to evaluate and address cumulative impacts. There's multiple different legislative mandates, starting with Senate Bill 19-181 that required ECMC to evaluate and address cumulative impacts. This annual report then is sort of maybe the capstone each year, summarizing how the commission is evaluating and addressing cumulative impacts related to oil and gas specifically. So this report evaluates the Form 2B data. That's a form that is required in every oil and gas development plan. As the commission voted to approve OGDPs in 2024, those Form 2Bs were approved. And this report provides the summary of all of those Form 2Bs that were approved in 2024. A couple of notes of interest for this year's report. This is the first report that has been created entirely in-house. The previous three reports, we had a third-party contractor who did a lot of the work for us with our help and with our review and our final sort of say. But we're really pleased that we're fully staffed now, nearly fully staffed in the cumulative impacts team. And so we were able to put our team, our team's expertise to good use this year and make this report entirely in-house for the first time. This report does also have our ongoing collaboration with our partners at CDPHE and CPW. We have created this report using a new digital publication format that we didn't use in the past. So I think you'll be pleased. I think visually, it's maybe a little bit prettier than the previous reports. Excuse me. There's a few more photos. We've redesigned some of the graphical illustrations to be a little more accessible and user-friendly. We've also, in the substance of the report, we've expanded our interpretation of the data, trying to give a little bit more context and insight as to why the data might be reporting the way it is reporting. We've also expanded our conclusions and our recommendations sections to be a little bit more insightful. I do want to point out that even though the commission adopted our new cumulative impacts and enhanced systems and practices rules late last year, those rules went into effect in December of 2024. And so this report does not include any OGDP data that is subject to those new rules. No OGDPs were submitted and approved within 2024 that were subject to those rules. So next year's report will be another sort of milestone step as next year's report will be the first report illustrating the data from OGDPs approved under our new CI-ESP rules. Next slide, please. So I just want to take maybe a little bit selfishly take a moment to, excuse me, take a moment to give some thanks where it's really due. Certainly a big thank you to ECMC's two new community liaisons. They provided some proofreading and some insight that added some additional substance and content around our work with disproportionately impacted communities. ECMC's reclamation team and GIS team provided graphs and data and insight and some peer review support as well. Certainly our partners at CDPHE, they were contributing authors in chapters 2 and chapters 4, specifically the air quality chapters. And then our partners at CPW also provided almost the entirety of chapter 7, which is the wildlife chapter. So a hearty thank you to our internal and our external partners on helping us get really solid content for this report. And then again, selfishly on my part, I want to just issue a very heartfelt thanks and my deepest appreciation for ECMC's cumulative impacts team. Alex Axe carried the full weight of the technical editing, the digital publishing, and generally herded all of us cats. Pete Dunleavy, he's our renewable energy coordinator. He provided the information on renewable energy and was a peer reviewer. Dita Osborne is our air quality specialist. She worked in concert with APCD staff, largely on chapter 4, the air quality chapter. Also provided some peer reviewing. Stephen Schwartz, he's our cumulative impact supervisor. He was a primary author. He did the initial drafting that then the rest of us took up and sort of filled in and made it pretty. He also helped collaborate with CPW and provided some peer review support. And then last but not least, Mike Wells. He is our data wrangler. He is the guru with the queries to get in and get out of CIDR. He also spent some time turning the data into graphical visualization, so the charts and tables and that sort of thing. So huge thank you to my team and to our partners and other contributors to make this report successful. I think that is the last slide. Oh, maybe one more slide. So this is just an introduction today. I would encourage everyone, certainly you commissioners and the public, to take a read through of this report. It's a little bit bigger than the previous reports because we have more data now, this being the 4th year. I do intend to come back. I think we're tentatively scheduled to return to a commission hearing Wednesday, June 25th. I'll try to solidify that date, but I think that's the tentative schedule. We'll come back later and provide a more thorough overview of the data, talk a little bit about some of the trends that we've observed, and then hope to have a discussion with you commissioners about the report's conclusions and recommendations that we'd like to make to you. We certainly look forward to your feedback and just really excited to and pleased to have this report out on behalf of Director Murphy. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions now, but I do intend to return later in June after you've had a chance to read and digest the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trask, and thank you everyone who worked on the cumulative impacts report. I know it's a huge lift, a massive lift, and so really appreciate the time and effort that was put into it. Certainly interested in having that conversation on June 25th and diving into some of the details and conclusions. And so thanks for setting aside time for us to be able to dive a little deeper into it. But commissioners, do you have any questions on information that has been provided today by Ms. Trask? Well, thank you for the update, the 2 updates, and look forward to the conversation on June 25th.
As do I. Thanks, commissioners.
With that, the next up on our agenda is docket number 241000238. Maybe we'll take a 5-minute break, come back at 9:28, and at that point, everyone can be elevated to a panelist and we can get started with that. So we'll take a break until 9:28. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started again. Once again, this is docket number 241000238, an oil and gas development plan located in Mesa County. Applicant is Laramie Energy LLC. We'll start by swearing in the witnesses. AAG Boudreau, is that you?
Yes, that's right. I'll go through a list of witnesses, ask each of them to raise their right hand, state their first and last name, and swear to tell the truth. Please be visualized while you do so. I'll start at the top of the list. Aaron Duncan.
I'm Aaron Duncan, and I swear to tell the truth.
Matt Caston.
Matt Caston, I swear to tell the truth.
Jason Lowry.
Jason Lowry, and I swear to tell the truth.
Katie Middleton.
Katie Middleton, and I swear to tell the truth.
Austin Edge,
Austin Edge, I swear to tell the truth.
Hannah Eastwood,
Eastwood, I swear to tell the truth.
Dwayne Knutson,
Dwayne Knutson, I swear to tell the truth.
Kyle Gorinsky,
Kyle Gorinsky, I swear to tell the truth.
Tyler Peters,
Tyler Peters, I swear to tell the truth.
Ms. Wozlinki, is that everyone?
It is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Wozlinki, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner Mesner. I'll get our PowerPoint up and running, and then I'll get started. Perfect. All right. Well, good morning, commissioners. My name is Kelsey Wozlinki with Jost Energy Law. And with Jamie Jost, we represent Laramie Energy LLC in the 2024 CCR 0994-2302 OGDP before you today in docket 2410-00238. We would like to thank Mesa County for its support of the CCR OGDP and also ECMC staff and the director for their efforts on this OGDP. I'll take just a few minutes to summarize the CCR OGDP and requested relief before I turn it over to Laramie. This OGDP requests that the Commission establish an approximate 1,446 acre OGDP for the development of 2 new horizontal wells in the Mancos and Niobrara formations in Mesa County to be developed from the new CCR 0994-2302 pad. The OGDP also requests the establishment of an approximate 1,446 acre drilling and spacing unit for the application lands shown on this map. One of the horizontal wells will develop federal minerals, and Laramie will submit a communitization agreement to the BLM at least 30 days before the anticipated date of first production from the initial well drilled within the drilling and spacing unit. Laramie will provide an update on the federal APD in the presentation today. The CCR pad is located within Mesa County. Laramie has an approved Mesa County oil and gas site location, approving the siting and related surface disturbance for this location. The proposed CCR location triggers 2 Rule 304 ALA criteria. The proposed working pad surface is within 2,000 feet of 2 RBUs, and the RBUs are located within a DIC. The review of this OGDP is under Rule 604B1, as both RBU owners and tenants have signed informed consent. In addition, there are 3 RBUs outside of 2,000 feet but within 2,300 feet of the proposed working pad surface. Laramie engaged with these residents as well, and while not required by ECMC rules, these owners and tenants have also provided their informed consent. Laramie will describe its robust community engagement and ALA process in the presentation. Throughout the planning and OGDP process, Laramie consulted with several stakeholders, including Mesa County, BLM, CPW, CDPHE, Ute Water Conservancy District, the Town of Colburn, and Plateau Valley Fire Protection District. As a result of these consultations, Laramie has committed to several BMPs to avoid, minimize, and mitigate potential adverse impacts, which Laramie will describe today. I'll briefly note that the proposed location is within 15 stream miles of a public water system intake, which did not trigger ALA, but did trigger a Rule 304C1 emergency spill response plan. Laramie will also describe this outreach and plan elements in the presentation. And finally, Laramie has complied with all notice requirements for the OGDP. No formal petitions were filed, and 1 general public comment was received on the Form 2A. Before I pass the presentation over to the Laramie team, I do want to flag a typo on the CCR Form 2A under the noise BMPs. One of the noise BMPs currently states that a Tier 5 or similar rig is anticipated to be utilized for the drilling of the CCR location. The reference to Tier 5 is a typo, and it should read that a Flex 5 or similar rig is anticipated to be utilized. We discussed this typo with the location assessment specialist, and Laramie requests that you approve the OGDP with this change noted. I will note that the noise mitigation plan correctly references the Flex 5 rig, and only the BMP language on the Form 2A needs to be corrected. So with that, I will turn it over to Katie Middleton with Laramie to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Wozlinki. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Katie Middleton, Senior Development Planner with Laramie Energy. I'd like to thank the Commission for the opportunity to present the 2024 CCR 0994-2302 OGDP today. Laramie would also like to thank Mesa County, BLM, CPW, CDPHE, Ute Water, Town of Colburn, and ECMC staff for their time and guidance with this project. Laramie is an exploration and development company that solely operates in Western Colorado. Laramie's core operating areas are in Cascade Creek and Plateau Valley, both located within the Piceance Basin. Next slide. During this presentation, I will refer to the location as the CCR. The proposed CCR well pad is a new oil and gas location situated in Plateau Valley within Mesa County. Laramie is proposing to drill 2 horizontal wells. These 2 horizontal wells represent Laramie's initial effort in an exploratory development program aimed at evaluating the Mancos and Niobrara formations. Next slide. This timeline highlights the highlights of the CCR project. Laramie started evaluating the development area in 2021. Throughout the preparation of the OGDP, Laramie held multiple pre-application and consultation meetings with regulatory agencies, including an on-site visit. Notable milestones listed include a submission of the federal APD to the BLM, approval of the Mesa County Oil and Gas Site Location Permit, and obtaining informed consent from all RBUs within 2,300 feet of the CCR. Importantly, no formal petitions were filed. The CCR is situated in a rural area in Mesa County. The site is located 6 miles east of the town of Colburn. The surface lands are privately owned, and Laramie has established a surface use agreement with the surface owner for the development of the proposed OGDP. The CCR is located in a disproportionately impacted community, which is classified as socioeconomically vulnerable community with a low-income population. There are no high occupancy building units, schools, child care centers, or designated outdoor activity areas located within 1 mile of the proposed location. There are 2 RBUs within 2,000 feet of the working path surface, which I will touch on later in this presentation. CCR is located near the crossroads of 2 Mesa County public roads, 64 and 310 Road and Highway 330. The CCR is not located within high priority habitat. The CCR is located near existing infrastructure owned and operated by Laramie. The adjacent pipeline corridor will minimize surface disturbance associated with this project. By utilizing temporary surface water lines for freshwater, truck traffic will be significantly reduced during pre-production operations. For production, the CCR will be tied into existing buried pipelines for gas and water takeaway. These nearby facilities and infrastructure will support proposed operations and reduce truck traffic associated with the development of the CCR. The CCR was designed to minimize overall disturbance while providing safe and efficient mobility for equipment and personnel. The proposed area of disturbance will be 7.5 acres and 1.9 acres for the access road. The proposed buried gas pipeline and water line will result in 0.8 acres of short-term disturbance. During interim reclamation, 5.2 acres will be reclaimed, leaving 2.3 acres for the production pad surface. The CCR OGDP will result in 4.2 acres of long-term disturbance, which includes the production pad surface, stormwater control measures, and the access road. Of the total 10.2 acres for the project, only 42% is long-term disturbance. The design of the well pad incorporates protective stormwater and drainage control measures. Stormwater control measures were designed and reviewed by a certified stormwater inspector and professional engineer with extensive stormwater experience on the western slope. Next slide. As part of the planning and preparation of this OGDP, Laramie consulted with agencies and organizations listed before you. Laramie participated in an ECMC pre-application meeting on June 27, 2024. During the pre-app, Laramie presented a PowerPoint presentation, which included general location details, photos, proposed operations, alternative locations, freshwater takeout, high priority habitat, and nearby RVUs. Laramie also held a pre-application on-site meeting on July 10, 2024, where attendees had the opportunity to view the proposed CCR development area, engage in meaningful conversation, and provide input regarding the project. After the on-site, Laramie emailed on-site notes to all attendees. Mesa County is the relevant local government of the CCR, and there's no proximate local government. The CCR is within the county's agriculture, forestry, and transitional zone district. Pursuant to ECMC Rule 302E, advance notice was sent to Mesa County Community Development Department notifying of Laramie's intentions to submit an OGDP. The notification detailed proposed operations and traffic projections. Mesa County requires an oil and gas location application for well pads within the subject zone district. Representatives from Mesa County Community Development Department were invited to the onsite but were unable to attend. On August 29th, 2024, Laramie submitted an application to Mesa County. As part of Mesa County's permit process, a public notice sign was posted for 15 days and was visible to the public. Mesa County did not receive any comments during this period, and on September 27th, 2024, Mesa County issued an oil and gas site location permit. Federal minerals will be developed and targeted from one of the proposed horizontal wells in the northwest quarter of Section 11. On July 10th, 2024, BLM attended the on-site meeting at the location. During the on-site meeting, Laramie consulted with BLM regarding the design of the well pad, stormwater control measures, and surface disturbance. Laramie submitted the federal APD on September 30th, 2024, and on April 29th, 2025, the BLM provided an update stating that the BLM is completing NEPA and anticipates approval June 2nd, 2025. The 2024 CCR OGDP will not result in any surface disturbance to mapped high-priority habitat. 4 mapped habitats do exist within 1 mile of the CCR. However, 2 aquatic habitats are not located down gradient. Due to the proximity of Buzzard Creek, a perennial stream, and the down gradient aquatic habitat, Laramie consulted with CPW. The CCR is located 566 feet from Buzzard Creek. CPW attended 2 pre-application meetings. During the April consultation with CPW, Laramie discussed preliminary details regarding the project and listed BNPs for freshwater takeout. The CCR is located 14.79 miles from a public water surface intake, which triggers Rule 304C1 and Rule 411A4. The CCR is not located with any mapped public water system buffer zones. There are 2 mapped public water system intakes, Rule 411A, in the region, Ute Water Conservancy District and the town of Colburn. Please note, only Ute Water's intake is down gradient. The town of Colburn's intake is up gradient of the project area and does not trigger Rule 304C1 or 411A4. Neither of these public water systems triggered Rule 304B 2B5 ALA criteria. Ute Water's public water system intake is located down gradient 14.79 stream miles from the CCR project area, just barely inside the 15 stream mile threshold. The table lists milestones of communication with Ute Water regarding the CCR OGDP. Laramie presented to Ute Water on June 5th, 2024 at Ute Spring Junction office. Laramie discussed the development area, location details, water sampling, freshwater takeout along Buzzard Creek, surface hydrology, BMPs, and permitting overview. A Ute Water representative attended the onsite on July 10th, 2024. On September 6, 2024, Laramie emailed Emergency Spill Response Program Plan to Ute Water for review. The plan was prepared in accordance with ECMC Rule 304C1 and with applicable requirements of Rule 411A4, 602J, and 912B1. During the review, Ute Water requested to be notified of any spills and releases of the CCR pad. Laramie incorporated this request, and Ute Water approved the Emergency Spill Response Program Plan on September 10th, 2024. The proposed CCR pad is also situated near the town of Colburn's public water system along Plateau Creek. While the mapped public water system buffer is near CCR, Colburn's surface intake is located up gradient from the CCR pad. Laramie consulted with ECMC during the OGDP pre-application meeting, and ECMC staff stated that the town of Colburn would not need to review or approve the 304C1 plan since the mapped intake is up gradient. On May 7, 2024, Laramie staff presented the project to the town of Colburn during their board meeting. On September 3rd, 2024, Laramie staff presented a second time to the town of Colburn during the board meeting. These meetings are attended by the town of Colburn board members, town of Colburn staff, and the public. Laramie will present to the town of Colburn on June 3rd, 2025 to provide an update on the CCR project. CDPHE attended the ECMC pre-application meeting on June 27th, 2024, and consultation was conducted April 8th, 2025, per Rule 309F. Listed are some of the highlighted BMPs which Laramie has committed to. This includes using Group 3 drilling fluids and pipeline takeaway. Listed before you is a summary of our proposed air monitoring program. Laramie is currently preparing an air monitoring plan to submit to CDPHE. The CCR is situated in a disproportionately impacted community. As shown in the map before you, all of Eastern Mesa County is situated within this DIC. This rural area is remote and consists of large agriculture parcels and public lands. Before you is a map showing RBUs located in the nearby vicinity. There are 2 RBUs located within 2,000 feet of the CCR working pad surface, shown in yellow. There are 3 RBUs situated between 2,001 to 2,300 feet from the CCR, as shown in red. Laramie conducted outreach to the 5 RBUs located within 2,300 feet of the CCR pad. Due to the remote location of the CCR pad, Laramie conducted direct outreach to RBU owners and tenants of RBUs within 2,300 feet. Additionally, Laramie presented at 2 public Town of Colburn board meetings as previously described in this presentation. Laramie has engaged multiple times with RBU owners and tenants located within 2,300 feet of the proposed CCR site. As part of this outreach effort, Laramie mailed a preliminary letter outlining initial information about the proposed CCR location and operations. This letter included ECMC fact sheets, RBU map, and other location-specific details to ensure early awareness and that residents had sufficient time to ask questions or express concern. In the preliminary letter, Laramie encouraged ongoing communication and offered to meet with residents in person. Once the OGDP details were finalized, Laramie provided an informed consent letter to RBU owners and tenants. Laramie is pleased to report that all RBU owners and tenants within 2,300 foot radius of the CCR have signed informed consent. We will continue to engage with nearby residents and stakeholders. Laramie will implement numerous efforts to minimize and mitigate potential impacts, which best protects public health, the environment, safety, and wildlife resources. This slide summarizes anticipated duration for operations at the CCR. Laramie is planning 1 occupation. The CCR OGDP is an exploratory development intended to assess the viability of potential resources for the Mancos Formation. The spacing application is supported by land, engineering, and geology testimony. The next few slides will cover the alternative location analysis. The CCR triggers the following ALA criteria as listed before you. Laramie assessed 4 alternative locations in addition to the CCR in accordance with ECMC Rule 304B2. I'd like to provide an overview of Laramie's process for selecting the CCR location. The first step involves a surface development area where the targeted minerals can be accessed from, as shown in yellow. Then we utilized map and field verified data to avoid surface water, wetlands, and floodplains, as shown in blue. Given the challenging topography of the Piceance Basin, we carefully evaluate areas with steep slopes and geologic hazards, as shown in brown. Next, we exclude areas occupied by public roads and utilities, as shown in orange. Then we apply a 500-foot buffer around each RBU, as shown in red, followed by the integration of high-priority habitat layers, shown in teal. After accounting for these environmental constraints and physical features, any remaining surface areas that are too small to accommodate a well pad are excluded from considerations, as shown in purple. And this is what leaves us to our area, what we propose to analyze. This table shows an overview of the preferred and alternative locations. I'll address each alternative location over the next few slides. Please note, all 5 assessed locations are Tier 4A, and each site has RBUs located within 2,000 feet. As standard practice, when Laramie assesses pursuing a new development, we evaluate existing locations first. The David 2307 pad was constructed in 2007 and has 14 producing wells. All the targeted minerals could be reached from the David pad. The current site of the production pad, though, could not accommodate proposed operations. Therefore, the current footprint would have to be expanded. Discussions with adjacent surface owners and the surface owner of the David pad revealed that landowners would not approve a pad extending across parcel lines. KLJ Engineering designed a pad expansion so that disturbance remained on a single landowner surface, as shown in the upper right-hand corner. KLJ Engineering conducted a site visit to survey the existing David pad and to provide an assessment of the proposed pad expansion. KLJ determined that by expanding the existing pad to the east in order to avoid crossing parcel lines, the project would require a significant amount of fill. KLJ estimated 70,000 cubic yards of fill would be required for the pad expansion. The required fill would result in approximately 3,500 truckloads or 7,000 trips to deliver soil. Additionally, Laramie was concerned with the distances from the David pad expansion to improvements and setbacks listed in ECMC Rule 604A1 and 604A2. Laramie contemplated different placements of proposed wells and new equipment. However, moving further from one improvement would cause infringement on another setback. Also, there are 4 RBUs located within 2,000 feet of alternative location 1. The nearest RBU is located 548 feet away. Of all the locations assessed, alternative location 1 is the closest to an RBU. Due to the construction challenges, setback considerations, and proximity to RBUs, the expansion of the David pad was eliminated. Alternative location 2 was initially considered since all the targeted minerals could be reached while minimizing the number of RBUs. However, further assessment revealed that this location intersects several parcel boundaries involving 3 different surface owners as shown in the figure in the upper right-hand corner, which undermines its viability. The nearest RBU is 935 feet, which is significantly closer distance than the preferred location. In early discussions with landowners, they stated they would not enter into a SUA if the pad crossed parcel lines. Well pads in this area can produce up to 30 years. Laramie attempts to avoid long-term impacts, which involves multiple surface owners due to the life of a well pad. Since the surface owners opposed a well pad, which would involve multiple landowners, Laramie would have to pursue a surface owner bond protection pursuant to ECMC Rule 703 to construct alternative location 2. Thus, Laramie eliminated this location. Alternative location 3 was considered since the location was adjacent to existing gas and water lines, and all disturbances would occur on lands owned by a single landowner. Alternative location 3 has 7 RBUs within 2,000 feet, the most RBUs of all the locations analyzed. The nearest RBU would be 667 feet from ALA 3, which is over 1,000 feet closer to an RBU than the preferred location. Laramie eliminated alternative location 3 due to the proximity and number of RBUs. Alternative location 4 was evaluated due to the ability to access all targeted minerals and its increased distance from Buzzard Creek, its location on land owned by a single surface owner, and the potential for a shorter access road. However, this location posed several drawbacks. It had a higher number of RBUs within 2,000 feet and was substantially closer to the nearest RBU when compared to the preferred location. Furthermore, it would have been more visually prominent to surrounding RBUs, increasing the potential concerns for visual impact. The preferred location is the greatest distance to RBUs when compared to any of the alternative locations. The preferred location is the only location assessed which did not have an RBU within 1,000 feet. The preferred location also has less RBUs within 2,000 feet when compared to alternative location 1, 3, and 4. While alternative location 2 did have the least number of RBUs within 2,000 feet, it would have required a surface owner protection bond since the 3 landowners did not support a pad that crossed parcel lines. Based on the number and distance of RBUs within 2,000 feet, surface ownership, established SUA, proximity to improvements, which includes above ground utility lines, public roads, unoccupied buildings, and parcel lines, Laramie concluded that developing the CCR with best proper management practices protects and results in less overall impact when compared to the alternative locations while being able to reach all the targeted minerals. And now I'll return the presentation back to Ms. Wazzalinki to conclude the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Middleton. To summarize the CCR OGDP and request for approval, I'll note just a few OGDP highlights. Mesa County supports the development and has approved a siting permit for this location. Laramie engaged with all nearby residents, including those outside of 2,000 feet, and obtained 100% informed consent. And finally, the siting and BMPs provide protection of public health, safety, welfare, the environment, and wildlife resources by avoiding, minimizing, and mitigating adverse impacts. And with that, we respectfully request approval of the OGDP and associated Form 2A. And this does conclude our presentation. We have a number of subject matter experts from Laramie here on the hearing, and we are now open for your questions.
Thank you for the presentation, commissioners. Is there questions on this application? I have a couple of questions if no other commissioners do, and it's more of a clarification. Both the CDPHE consultation and the director's recommendation identify as a best management practice that there will be beneficial use of produced water recycling on site in field. I note that the water plan that was part of the application doesn't anticipate any reuse or recycling of produced water, and so need to just clarify what the intent there is.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Mesner. When we were consulting with CDPHE, they knew that we were proposing 100% freshwater. They said the BMP related to the produced water generated during production, takeaway, and then transferred to Laramie's Harrison Creek Water Treatment Facility, and it will be used in field for later development.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I just wanted to make sure that that was contemplated and that we weren't creating a BMP that you didn't intend to follow. So the other question that I have, and this is just so I better understand it, but maybe someone could explain to me what a Flex 5 rig is. That's a new term for me.
It's just a specific design for HEP. It's a Flex 5 is just all the specs that it has associated with it, but it's a common rig. J Chevron has a Flex 5.
Okay. Thanks for that. I don't have any further questions. Thanks for clarifying those two items. Commissioner Ackerman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a question, but I just did want to say, even though this falls outside of wildlife high priority habitat, I appreciate the care that was taken associated with the nearby HPH. You weren't required to do that, but you did have some significant discussions with CPW, and although formal consultation wasn't eventually initiated, I do appreciate those consultations and communications in informing your wildlife protection plan. So I appreciate that effort. Thank you.
If there's no further questions, I think we'll move into deliberations then. Does any commissioner want to start deliberations? Commissioner Cross.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the presentation. I'll be quick. I do appreciate the work that was done on this application. In addition to the comment that Commissioner Ackerman just made, I do think you went above and beyond with a lot of the regulations in terms of who you spoke with, who you received informed consent from, and I do appreciate the work that was put into that. I thought the alternative location analysis was very, very thorough, and I do appreciate the BMPs that are being used on this, and I will be voting in favor.
Thanks, Commissioner Cross. Other commissioners with thoughts? I'll provide just a couple of thoughts. I do want to compliment the application and Ms. Middleton for your presentation. That was a very comprehensive presentation that provided a lot of information and answered a lot of questions that I had going into the hearing, and so really appreciate that. And I do really appreciate, as Commissioner Cross identified, the extensive outreach to local governments as part of this, both the town of Colburn and Mesa County. and the as well as the federal agencies through this process that were coordinating between all those different entities. I really think made this a strong application, so appreciate that. With that, if there's no further deliberation, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd move for approval of the application.
I'll second, Mr. Chair, but I noted Ms. Wazelinski's note at the beginning of this presentation. Don't know if we need some AG consultation on anything we need to change.
Yeah, I think that would be good. AAG Boudreau, do you want to make a recommendation on how to incorporate the adjustment to the Form 2A associated with the rig?
I believe you can note it in the motion, and then it would be included in the final decision.
Commissioner Cross, would you like to update your motion?
Yes, thank you, and I apologize for that. I would like to update that motion to include the change with respect to I think it was described as a typo on that.
And I'll update the second. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you for the work on this application. With that, I believe we have gone through all of our items on the agenda today, and so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Commissioner.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That concludes the meeting today. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.